We've covered a lot in this offseason, from the defensive backfield room to the wide receiver room. We've covered defensive line, we've covered offensive line, pretty much everything except for one particular position that needs some attention, in that there's a big competition coming out, and that is the running back room. Now we have our definitive running back one, but who is in line and slated to be running back two? All that and more on this video. What's going on? I'm Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. If you're new to the channel, we'd appreciate it a ton if you like and subscribe. Be a part of the community, especially as we get closer and closer to the new season. But we're talking today about the running back room. The Colts have always had a definitive running back one and running back two. We had Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, immediately followed by Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. We had Joseph Adai and Donald Brown. Even Trent Richardson made his way as somehow into the running back room, and it's particularly been a fairly decent. Marshall Faulk, Edgerrin James. We've had some legendary running backs play for the Indianapolis Colts. But now we have Jonathan Taylor, who is borderline. He's an all-pro. Top 5 back in the league, undisputed. I think he has potential to be the best in the league, especially with a healthy Anthony Richardson. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about who is RB2 for the Indianapolis Colts. Because Jonathan Taylor only played 10 games last year due to either contract disputes, injury, all of that. Had a rough season the year before. Year before, he was an MVP candidate. So we have our running back, we have our guy, and he's locked in for the foreseeable future. But I think there's an important note that you have to have an RB2. No running back room is complete without a decent RB2. You had Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Even Christian McCaffrey has Elijah Mitchell. So who is the Indianapolis Colts RB2? Now, there are 4 running backs currently on the Colts active roster. That could dwindle, they could add, they could subtract. But as of right now, there are 4 running backs. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is running back 1. But the other 3 are Trey Sermon, Tyler Goodson, and Evan Hull. Now, one of those names is going to leave a little bitter taste in your mouth because of how the season ended with Tyler Goodson. I will say I don't think it was a perfect throw from Gardner Minshew, but I also don't think we should judge Tyler Goodson solely based off of that one specific situation. That one specific play, that is. Tyler Goodson has a very small sample size. He had 6 games with the Colts, only had 13 attempts for 87 yards, for 6.7 yards, average yards, and 31 was his longest. He had 4 first downs. First down percentage was 30.8. 20 plus yards. He had 1 run, and that's all in his rookie season. So I think that Tyler Goodson has a decent shot at being running back 2, though he's not my pick. Tyler Goodson is 5'9", 197 pounds, 29.5 arm length, and 9-inch hands. He has 2 years experience, and he's only 23 years old. His college was Iowa. I think Tyler Goodson deserves to be on the roster. Don't get me wrong. And I think that he's good. But I don't think that he has that much that is definitively different from Jonathan Taylor. What makes a good RB room is that you have 2 running backs with either contradicting or just definitive differentiating skill set. So you have the power back, the receiving back, you have elusive, you have, one of the guys that's more built like a tank. And I don't think that Tyler Goodson has something that is different than Jonathan Taylor. I definitely don't think he's better, but I think that Tyler Goodson can be good in specific situations, but he doesn't have the receiving hands that we need. And he's, again, not that different in size than Jonathan Taylor. So I don't think it's going to be different enough. Now, here's where it gets difficult, is picking between the next 2. Because I like these 2 guys a lot. The next one is Evan Hull, who was from Northwestern, grew up in Maple Grove, Minnesota, 5'10", 209 pounds, 30 5/8 arms, and 9 1/4 hands. We'll pull this up here. Here is Evan Hull's information. His prospect grade was 5.0, which is not bad. He's an average backup. He was drafted in round 5, pick 41 of the NFL draft in 2023. So he's coming off a rookie year. Now, this is where I think the Colts obviously knew what they were picking, and that is that his athleticism score right here, 83. That ranks 9th amongst all running backs in 2023. That's a good stat. And that's obviously something that we know that our Indianapolis Colts draft based on that specific stat of the RAS score, which is athleticism. Total score was 75. Now, here's where I think that you start to see some things that are a little different. A little bit similar to Jonathan Taylor, but not so similar in totality. His 40-yard dash was 4.4, which is good for a running back. You don't see that a lot. His 10-yard split, 1.5, 37 broad jump, and then 10-3. You see all these stats, yada, yada, yada. That's his analysis. I think that Evan Hull has potential. I really like the stuff that we saw from him last year. I think that he fits that build. He's not different than Jonathan Taylor in that similar size, similar abilities. I do think Evan Hull has a little bit, not more, because Jonathan Taylor has a fairly decent. But as far as you're talking your backup running back, I think that Evan Hull does have a good ability to be the guy that could be a really good backup option for the Indianapolis Colts. I think that, worst comes to worst, I'm not upset with Evan Hull as the backup running back. I still am also kind of holding out for the Colts signing a guy as the backup running back, but, that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about who's on the active roster, who can be it. But here's my pick, and that is a guy that it might come as a no-brainer. It might not, but I really like Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon has been with the Colts. Let me move my face here out of the way. So there's Trey Sermon. You know him, you love him, you've seen him. Trey Sermon came over from Philadelphia. He was with San Francisco the first year. He played 9 games. Then he was with Philadelphia the next year, and then he was with the Indianapolis Colts, and he played 14 games for the Colts. Here are the numbers that I want you to look at and realize why I think this guy is different. He's 6'0", which is already taller than the other running backs that we've stated. He went to Ohio State. Ohio State makes some good running backs. He was drafted in the round 3, pick 88, so he's drafted higher than some of the other guys. But here's the information that I want to show you, and that is these numbers right here. Because in 9 games, he had 41 attempts for 167 yards for 4.1 yards per carry. For average running back, or for an average, RB2, that's a good number. And he was backing up Elijah Mitchell at the time. They had Jimmy G. They didn't have Brock Purdy yet. It was kind of like a more bland version of the offense they're running now. And then the next year, they runs with Philadelphia, only plays 2 games, only has 2 carries for 19 yards, so 9.5 yards per carry. He had a 14-yard run. So only in 2 carries, he had 19 yards. I think that's good. And then you look at last year with the Colts, and this is where I think that we need to draw a little bit more attention to. He played 14 games for the Colts last year. He had 35 carries for 160 yards for 4.6 yards per carry. The average, what you're looking for in a RB2 for a backup running back, is anything that is 3.8 or higher. That's like the median number for a backup running back, because you don't want them in every down. You don't want them to be pulling away from your star running back. But any guy who's going to be able to get you a first down or be a reliable option while your RB1 rests, which we know Jonathan Taylor is going to need some rest, obviously. But this is 4.4 across, and even you take out this, it's still very close to 4.4 based on 4.1 and 4.6. So 4.3, take out the 2 carries. I think this is a really good option for the Indianapolis Colts. He had a 27-yard run with the Indianapolis Colts last year, and that's off of only 35 carries. So clearly, based on a 16-yard, a 14-yard, 27-yard, this guy's got some ability to break tackles, get free, and run the ball downfield. Not to mention, apparently, I think this guy's just got what it takes to be a run-of-the-mill RB2. Do I think he's going to be Naheem Hines? No. I don't think he's going to be Naheem Hines, and I don't think he's going to be Zach Moss either, because Zach Moss played a very similar style to Jonathan Taylor. But I think what the Colts have in Trey Sermon is actually a very decent running back. I think that he's going to be able to provide a lot of positional ability in a position where you just need a guy to back your main guy up. You don't need him to be a superstar. You don't need him to be an all-pro. But what you need him for is every 4 downs, while Jonathan Taylor rests after a big play, which we're expecting a lot of him this season, a guy like Trey Sermon to be able to come in and make the plays that you need him to make, be consistent, be a workhorse, be available, and I think that the Colts have their guy in Trey Sermon. But again, if Evan Hull gets that job, I'm not really upset either. And as a split role between the two, I think that's good. But you need a guy who's going to be there, especially if Jonathan Taylor goes down. You don't want your entire offense to be hindered by the fact that one guy goes down. That's all for this video. Like I said, if you like what you see here, be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.